Today, we're talking about 5 events that can make fundraising fun. Let's put the fun back in fundraising and get into it. We're Ted and Lisa Snyder. We're nonprofit consultants, and we do this because we believe that a better world needs healthier nonprofits.
And fundraising is super important, and too often it becomes this drag that organizations just have to do. But the thing is, fundraising can be so much fun. We love helping organizations with their fundraising. We love being a part of fundraising. I think it's a blast. And part of this is understanding events that make your fundraising more fun for your community. So let's jump into a few of our favorites and kind of how they can be extra.
So one that we've done a couple times with, we partnered with organizations. We didn't run this like for our own organization. We were just helping them with theirs, is bingo or bargo. So specifically, you got to check your state and make sure like legalities and stuff are covered with this, because sometimes it can be counted as gambling or whatever. But this is a super, super fun way to engage the community. Talk about what bingo or bargo is.
So bingo, it's getting people together. It can be run depending on how your state is. A lot of times what organizations will do is just have people come together, have it be a community event, and you just play a round of bingo and the winner gets a prize. Now, here's the great thing about this. One, people are excited about doing it. People have fun playing bingo. So you get people together. If they know it's a fundraiser, they're going to be willing to either donate. We've had people offer to donate per card, even though we haven't run it like that. But then between games, it's a really easy time to be like, hey, let's talk about the organization. Let's share what we're doing. Let's keep it going, keep it fun. And here's how you can donate. People have so much fun playing bingo. People have fun playing bargo. And when they're at a bar, you know they're happy. Don't drink if you shouldn't be drinking. But I mean, people have fun in those environments. And typically, the more fun that people are having, the more willing they are to hear about an organization and consider donating to the organization. So they have fun through it. It gives you a chance to talk about it. We've partnered this up with like silent auctions and other things like that. And one of the best things is it can be cheap. A lot of times you can get a location for free because you do it at a place where people can order food on their own, and people don't tend to have a problem with that. The donations or the prizes, those are all donated from businesses in the community. A lot of times you can get them to sponsor part of the event so that it can be talked about. It can be a very cheap event, raise a lot of money, and a great way to get people in the door who don't know about your organization. And they'll just come and learn more about what it is that you're doing.
So one of the cool things about it is in between, well, a couple tips on how to do a bingo or bargo event. Well, get an MC that likes to have fun.
Yes.
Like get the number caller who likes to have fun, make jokes, make people laugh. All that kind of stuff is really, really good. And secondary, leverage the time in between rounds to remind people about what the purpose is, why they're there. When you're playing bingo, you can kind of sometimes forget why you're there.
Yeah.
So,
and then also with that, there are ways that you can do this fully online. I've participated. There's one organization that we know that always does a bingo Mother's Day event. They're not even located in the US, but they do a massive online bingo game, and it's hugely successful for their organization. So this doesn't even have to be a local event, which is awesome.
Cool. I'm excited about this next one.
Go.
You can do a virtual blankathon.
What's a blankathon, Ted?
I'm so glad you asked. A blankathon is an a-thon of anything that can be competitive.
Are you talking about a walkathon?
I am.
A readathon? Or
Coin flip-a-con? Thon? Coin flip-a-thon?
I'm going to flip my coin 100 times.
Hey, if it can be a thon, you can do it virtually, okay? But this is really, really cool because I think a lot of organizations are trying to figure out how to expand their reach a little bit and get outside of just their local community. Sometimes you just want to be local, and that's really, really good. But say you're trying to reach out to people maybe who love the community you're in and you're working in, but maybe they moved away for whatever reason, or they have family here or whatever, right? So you want to do something virtual. A blankathon is an easy way to do this. You can do physical challenges, that kind of stuff. But talk a little bit about how do you run an a-thon?
A lot of times it can be, maybe it's a very specific challenge. We'll talk about a couple of physical challenges. But one that we had some friends participate in is it was do a certain amount of certain exercises over a certain amount of time. And people basically just pledged If you do this many of this, I'll give you this many dollars. Like I'll give you $1 per push-up or 50 cents per whatever. And basically there's a certain amount of time where everyone who is participating in it did it all together. So all the numbers were kind of everyone was tallying up. It was all working together. There was still this friendly competition about who could raise the most amount of money by doing their stuff. Because you could have someone who maybe you're doing like a readathon and someone's like, you know what, I'm going to read 40 books this month. And someone else is like, I'm going to read 1 book this month. Well, if that one person is really good at fundraising, they could still win the readathon in terms of helping your organization. So it's kind of a fun way to add in some competition by saying, for however many of X we do, we're going to give a certain amount of money, or just have people over the course of a month say, every day we're going to do whatever the activity might be. But it can kind of turn into a longer term event that you can connect with people all around the world and get people's buy-in, and then also form a community of people who are all doing it together.
Yeah. Event
I feel like that was so many words.
No, it was so good. It was so good. Event number 3. Why don't you talk about event number 3?
Wine and dessert auctions. These are happy. So one thing that a lot of nonprofits do is galas. You know, a lot of times they'll host a dinner. Maybe there'll be a different type of auction at it, or maybe it'll be some sort of just, I don't know, different events. A lot of times there's like dinner involved, and you know, someone speak about what the event is, or some testimonials about what your organization is doing. But one thing that is really fun that I've seen is wine raffles or wine auctions for people to be able to bid to have with their food. And then dessert auctions. We attended a gala where they had a dessert auction, and at the end of the night, they had these beautiful cakes, and tables, like whole tables, would bid against each other over who would get which cake for dessert. And you had cakes going for hundreds of dollars that were not that big of cakes. Like it was
They
just
were pretty
enough.
cakes, but they were donated too.
Yeah, they were pretty. They were donated. They weren't particularly anything special, but you had tables of people who were there
Fighting
for a
over it.
fundraising event, fighting over it. And it got loud and it got rowdy, and it was a ton of fun for the people involved.
So much fun. So consider doing a dessert auction or a wine auction. If you can get like an auctioneer or somebody who can at least sort of like function
Pump it up
as
a
an
little bit.
auctioneer, pump up the
But
jam.
that's an easy but that's an easy way just to add a little bit of extra bonus into an event that you're already running. And it can kind of make it a little bit more fun, especially if the event has been kind of low key or somber. If you can get people competing with each other who are all there to help your organization raise funds, you can have some very fun competition with that.
Yeah, now this next one we actually pulled from our Increase Your Donations course that we do. It's a really, really good course that goes deep dive in how to increase donations across the board. But we talked about this a tiny bit, but we want to go more in depth with it. Doing a 5K or a plank challenge.
Mm-hmm. So these these challenges, what we like about this is it's a physical challenge. Now, depending on what your organization is, doing a physical challenge could be a really, really, really good fit for it. So, for example, we know of an organization that digs wells in other countries. And one of the things that they say is these kids have to walk so many miles a day carrying water, and that's heavy.
So
and
8
so,
miles, I think it was 8 miles a day.
It's like 8 miles. So with an organization like that, we would look at them and say, a 5K could be a great benefit for you. But what if you did a 5K in which people had to carry a gallon of water? You know, people don't have to run it. Maybe they're walking it, but actually getting a feel for what these kiddos are doing and actually putting them in that situation just a little bit. Or maybe you have an organization that actually supports athletes in some capacity. And then maybe you're like, hey, you know what? Athletes have to do planks. Let's all do planks together and raise money through that. People buy in to be a part of the challenge. At the end of however many days it is, the challenge winner gets a big trophy and they get to say, I did it. I won the plank challenge, whatever it might be. But if you can find a way and to incorporate your nonprofit with some sort of challenge, whether it be physical or one of the blank-a-thons that we talked about, the more that you can tie whatever it is with the mission of your nonprofit, it works differently because it sticks in people's minds differently.
Yeah, and you got to get creative with it, but like there's so many awesome options and things that you can do with physical challenges if you just think like, okay, how could I like make that fit with what we do? Like with that carrying water for a 5K is like a great example. So be thinking about that, like, oh, if I was going to do something creative like that, what would I do? It makes it extra fun. It makes it stand out because there are tons of 5Ks all over the place. There are tons of marathons all over the place. But as soon as you tie it in some sort of symbolic way to what you do, now it's really special. And it's really, really cool.
What kind of challenge would you do if there's an
Put me on
organization
the spot.
promoting helping kids read?
Helping kids read, a physical challenge. Helping kids read. I would say doing planks with books on your back, and how many books you have on your back could like add to like your score or something like that. I mean, I don't know, doing something. What would you do?
I was going to say do a bookathon, but you went physical, and I was going to let you see
I thought
we
we were trying to figure out, yes, you put me on the spot there. But I think that turns out pretty good.
No, I mean, if you can get someone to be able to do a minute plank, and every day they have to stack an extra book on, an extra book on, an extra book on. I don't care how small his books are. After 30 days, it's going to be harder.
Cool. Right. And then the last idea for an event that makes fundraising fun is an entertainment night.
Yes. Entertainment nights. I just like that.
It just brings people together, right? Because people want to do something that's fun. They want to get together. So basically what you do here is you find something that's entertaining, whether that's a musician or a musician group or comedian or just something that people would go to and they would whatever. Or maybe you find like a movie, right? Like maybe there's a movie that you can show legally in a large group setting or something like that.
By the license, it's relatively inexpensive for nonprofits.
Right, that
Legal
kind of
disclaimers.
thing. A game night where people are playing games, right? Just think about like what entertains people and how can we get people to come to that. And the cool thing about an entertainment night is that it's going to force you to get volunteers. And here's why getting volunteers for an event is such a big deal when it comes to fundraising. 20% of all of the organization size is always going to be volunteers. 20% of the giving done in an organization, the fundraising, is going to be given by volunteers. If you increase your volunteer numbers, you increase your giving numbers. So if you have a big event that requires like 100 volunteers to put it on, you're going to raise a ton of extra money than if you did an event that required 2 volunteers. It
is really strange. A lot of times nonprofit leaders look at people and it's like, I can either ask them to volunteer or I can ask them for money. But the reality is a lot of times your biggest donors are going to be people who say, man, I want to help out. And a lot of times your volunteers are going to be the people who say, yeah, I'd be willing to give some money to that. And so either one, if you can increase the number of donors you have, or you can increase the number of volunteers that you have, they're going to actually help each other. And you're going to see growth going both ways. It's the whole 80-20 rule. 80% of the results comes from 20% of the people. If you figure out who those 20% of people are, probably volunteers, and can get that number increased, the 80% results is going to increase, but then also everything else across your organization is going to increase. We helped host a comedian fundraising event once a few years ago, and that was super fun because you had the comedian hosting, but then volunteers doing like making popcorn and selling candy and like different stuff like that.
Setting up the space, decorating chairs. And basically you look at all those things and you try to say, how many volunteers can I get involved in this? Not how few people can I pull this off with. You want to like overload the amount of people that you have helping and then make their volunteer experience awesome.
Yes. So that can be a super fun night. If this is something where you're like, listen, I'd love to do an entertainment night. That sounds like a lot of volunteers, and I'm not totally sure how to go about getting those. We actually have a video for you that has tips on how to actually get volunteers that'll help your organization grow. So it'll show up somewhere in this area.
Somewhere over here.
Take a look at that, and we will see you in the next video.